Hey everybody, it's Tony Cook from Model Railroad News Magazine. ModelRailroadNews.com is a place to go find us. We're also on Facebook as well. I'm out here on a Saturday afternoon with my assistant editor Shane Mason. We're here at the hobby shop, Midwest Model Railroad. That's MidwestModelRR.com in Independence, Missouri. I wanted to take a moment of your time today to show you this new boxcar that Tangent brought out, and we're going to have it this summer in Model Railroad News. I've got the 3 road names out with 3 different reviewers, and so we're going to have a great review on it, but I wanted to take a moment and show it to you today. But first, let's take a look at these amazing antiques. You know, the 40-foot boxcar has been around, well, basically since, the early part of railroading. And as far as the steel version of this car, which these both these reproductions are, came out the same time that the real ones hit the rails, like in the 1930s and 40s, and then these are 1950s plastic versions, some of the first plastic models ever made. So we've always had, it seems like, 40-foot boxcars in the hobby. This is a classic Mantua car in, of all things, General American leaser service. How cool is that? And then this is a hobby line. Man, weighs next to nothing. 40-foot boxcar as well. And these cars have been around forever, and there's so many versions of them. I mean, you could do an entire book. In fact, that's a good idea. You could do a whole book on 40-foot boxcars that have been done in HO scale, and there's so many of them. And I think when there is a model that becomes that common, that you kind of accept it, good, bad, or indifferent, of this is what this prototype would look like, reproduced in plastic in 187. There's better, there's average. But again, a boxcar's a boxcar, right? Well, until you've seen Tangent's new PS-1 combination door boxcar. This just came out this spring. This is their first. They've done a 40-foot, the little high cube, but for a real standard, typical 40-foot boxcar, this is the first time they've done this. And I really was excited to see it, because Tangent's been around, a decade or more now, but a car as common as this prototype is something we've not seen from them. Now, these are PS-1, which is Pullman-Standard, and Pullman-Standard's kind of universal designs as they came out within the 1950s. The PS-1 was a boxcar, the PS-2 was a small covered hopper, PS-3 was an open hopper like a coal car, and then PS-4 and 5, I always get these two confused. One is a flat car, one is a gondola. And the cars got bigger as we went into the 1960s. The little 2-bay PS-2s became the big, like Tangent's 4750, like 3-bay covered hoppers, but that identification stayed throughout Pullman-Standard's line. So this PS-1, there's also 50-foot, but the 40-foot was very common right after World War II, and this is the steel design of this. Now, each of these cars, though, is unique. These all date in this first run from the late 1950s. Union Pacific rebuilt what were sliding 6-foot door examples from Pullman-Standard at their Albina shops into these plug door versions. And the concept, I believe, on all 3 of these were they would haul lumber products from the Pacific Northwest back east, but then on the return trip, they didn't need the wide opening that they needed to get the lumber loaded in. So the idea being this almost just serves as a wall for the boxcar, that you can open the plug door, slide it back, slide the one door, and you can load wood, but then once you've got this sealed, you're back to the small opening of a regular boxcar. It worked for whatever it was they were trying to do, as I kind of roughly explained it. So Union Pacific rebuilt cars to make them that way. This is a 1958 Milwaukee, and if you notice, it's got a bigger door. This has got an 8-foot instead of a 6-foot sliding door. And then the other car in the release, I'll do an official unboxing here for you, is Northern Pacific, and I believe these were assembled at their Brainerd shops. And although I like the Union Pacific, it's awesome in that it's all in kind of that mineral red color, including the trucks, which is so cool. I think it really sets a car like that off. But the NP car probably has the most intricate of paint schemes, as it's got brown sides, black ends, and then the top is that look of like galvanized metal with the overspray of both the black and the brown apparent, which is really awesome and a very realistic look to it. The other thing too on the Northern Pacific, and it's also a late 1950s prototype, all these are basically just before 1960 is when they hit the rails, but stayed through to in like late 70s to almost 1980. The Northern Pacific rides on roller bearing trucks with spinning bearing caps, and no fears if you worry about spinning bearing caps. Tangent does give you a set of those as replacements. Although we've tested these, and I've run this on the Model Railroad News test track. I have this Northern Pacific car is out with our buddy Chris Atkins down in Texas, has been testing it, and I've had no reports or seen anything on problems with those so far. All these cars come equipped with body-mounted Kadee metal scale head couplers, but the thing that you really, and Tangent has made their name on the details. And boy, these are just stunning. The thing that's really gotten me on these cars is the separate ladders. And separate ladders on like a boxcar is probably not a big deal. They've been around for years. But when you really look at these, you can see the locations where the ladders would have been welded to the side of the boxcar. I mean, some of the little fine details are just amazing. This Northern Pacific car, you'll notice, and this does follow the prototype. We'll share prototype pictures with you here that I got from Tangent Scale Models in this video. But if you notice here on the Northern Pacific, the grab irons like curve around towards the end of the car, and they're even painted to match, so the edges are black and the sides are brown. And all these cars too, if you notice, like both the Northern Pacific and the Milwaukee cars have a bit of a fish belly sill to them, but the Union Pacific has more of a straight sill. So again, none of these three cars are the same. All of them have distinct bodies to them and correct roof walks, brake wheel types. I mean, these are stunning cars. The underbody detail is just incredible. So if you think a 40-foot boxcar is a 40-foot boxcar, you got to take a look at these and see if you don't get a new definition of them. As I say, we're going to have a big print review with lots of pictures and shots of the prototype coming up in Model Railroad News this summer. Check us out at modelrailroadnews.com. You can get these now. These just delivered this spring. They are hot. They are selling out. Tangent Scale Models, does things in limited quantities, and this run was no different. These are available now at Midwest Model Railroad in Independence. That's midwestmodelrr.com. You can buy them online and have yours in just a matter of days. Thanks for your time. Check out one of these boxcars. If you're a big collector like I am, my dad jokes I'm the root of the 40-foot boxcar because I love buying. I got so many of them. These were absolutely stunning that I was thrilled to see these come out, and we're going to have an awesome review coming up this summer. So thanks for your time. Get yourself a boxcar and get out there and do some rail fanning.